This story is titled Stinky Levi on the Mountain. Levi heard that there was going to be a very special meeting. Jesus was calling all of his disciples, all of his followers, up on a mountainside. And rumor had it that he was going to choose some of them to be full-time disciples. That means they would spend all of their time with Jesus. They would go places together to minister. It was going to be the chance of a lifetime. Levi didn't tell anybody, but he was hoping he would be chosen to be one of those disciples, one of those full-time disciples. After all, he was one of the first people in all the world to see Jesus, because he was there in that stable the night Jesus was born. He heard right from Mary and Joseph. He heard the shepherds talk about the angels. And he had been sharing about Jesus ever since then. So he was hoping that his name would get called. He cleaned out the cart, put some fresh straw down on the bottom. He even gave Benjamin a bath. Then they put some food and supplies in the cart. He got some other people to help out with the barns while he would be gone. And then they went on their long journey to this place where Jesus was holding the meeting. They got to the base of the mountain and they started up. It got a little steep and Benjamin was really pulling hard, so Levi got out of the cart first and helped to push the cart while Benjamin pulled. And then Leah got out of the cart to walk alongside, and finally David did too. Then they arrived at this nice level spot on the side of the mountain where Jesus was teaching. Oh, it was a beautiful day. There were a lot of people there. Everybody was so friendly and happy. Jesus was leading the people in some singing, and they were singing praises to God. Some of the songs were right out of the Psalms, very familiar to them, but some of the songs were brand new, almost as if Jesus was making them up as he went along, but they were so rich, so wonderful. And everybody caught on seemingly right away and sang along. Then Jesus taught. Sometimes while Jesus was teaching, Levi felt really bad because he found out he had been doing some things wrong. He had been thinking in ways that he thought were right, but found out they're not godly enough. But then there were other times that Levi just laughed out loud because the illustrations and stories that Jesus told were, well, sometimes they were funny, but sometimes they were so right on that it was like eating a bite of a dessert that was so delicious, like, wow, that was good. Oh, nobody taught like Jesus. Then came that moment. It was getting near evening already. Seemed like they just got there, but the hours had flown by like minutes. And Jesus was about to send the crowd home, and he said, but I want to call out of the crowd those who are going to follow me full time, and then the rest of you can go on your way in the peace of God. And Jesus started calling the names out. Levi leaned forward. Brothers Simon and Andrew. And two men in the front stood up and walked toward Jesus. James and John, sons of Alphaeus. Two other guys got up and walked toward. And then it happened. Jesus called out, Levi! Levi's heart skipped a beat. He could hardly believe it. He was ready to jump to his feet. He got halfway up, and Jesus finished what he was saying. Levi, the tax collector. Oh, that's not me. Bartholomew and other names were called. There was another James called. But no more Levi's. Levi was a bit embarrassed and self-conscious. He was sure that somebody had noticed, or many had noticed, maybe everybody noticed, that he had gotten halfway up when Levi's name was called. And he started beating himself up, saying, "Oh, you fool. What made you think you could ever be a full-time disciple of Jesus? You clean barns for a living." And he was feeling a little down, even after such a wonderful day of ministry. He was feeling sad. His self-esteem had shrunk to almost nothing. They got in the cart and they were on their way down the mountain, and David said, "Gee, Dad, I thought for sure that Jesus had called your name when he said Levi." And Levi said, "Oh, no, he'd never call a guy like me." And David said, "What are you talking about? You love Jesus more than anybody else I know." Leah chimed in and said, "That's for sure. I wouldn't have been surprised at all if he'd have called you to be a full-time disciple. You tell everybody you meet about Jesus. You're a wonderful follower." And David said, "Yeah, and what about us? We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. And what would happen to us if you had become a full-time disciple?" And Levi said, "Well, yeah, I guess that's true." And Leah said, "Levi, there are so many ways to follow Jesus. And even if you aren't with him 24/7, you still follow him full time. Everything you do, the way you clean barns, the way you help everybody in need, you are a full-time disciple. Jesus probably didn't call you to follow him because your assignment is already so important." Well, Levi started sitting up a little taller as the cart went along. He said, "Well, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I guess there are many different ways to serve the Lord, and all of them are important." And they had a real good trip on the way home. They talked about many of the things Jesus had said. Again, there were moments when they were sad and moments when they laughed out loud. Because that's what it's like when you're a follower of Jesus Christ. What about you? Are you a disciple? Do you do things because you believe they'll please God? Do you apologize to your brothers and sisters or your parents whenever you didn't act quite right? Do you tell them that you love them? Do you try to help them when they have a need or a problem? You know, the last time that our grandkids, Parker and Hannah, were over, after they were gone, my wife commented, "You know, they played together really nice." They played together really nice. Not all brothers and sisters do that, and not all brothers and sisters do that all the time. But it showed. It was evident. They're doing good jobs getting along with one another. And that's a blessing to the whole family. Do you get along well with the people you love? That's part of following Jesus. Do you try to cheer each other up and not cause trouble? That's being a good follower of Jesus. Well, keep that in mind. God bless. I hope to see you again soon.